supported by members of the media and the public. The first item on the agenda is to meet with HB Communications to discuss their proposal for audio-visual needs in Town Hall, and Ken wanted to say something.
Yeah, I'd like to recuse myself from this discussion. Last summer, Tim went out and got a quote from a local company for like $184,000 and said, Ken, please help here. You were in this business a long time. I looked at it. I even saw a piece of it was a piece of equipment from my old company. And I suggested getting these guys involved. Chad at the end with a broken leg is my son-in-law. But HB is the largest firm in Greater Boston that does this kind of work. Anyway, so I'm going to recuse myself from the discussion because of those relationships.
Okay, with that, Anya, would you like, because the cable committee had some involvement, would you like to come up, please? Or just move the chair closer in case if there's any cable-related, committee-related questions. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chad.
Okay, well, thanks for having us. As Ken mentioned, there is a relationship there, but, I vetted many companies before I moved here to the East Coast in HB. I chose our organization based on many qualities, and we truly are, in my opinion, as I'm sure many of our thousands of clients would agree, we are the best at what we do in New England. So the system we put together for you is taking into consideration not only budgetary considerations, but also functionality and ways to allow you to achieve many of the goals that the town of Harvard wanted to with regards to broadcasting their selectmen committee meetings. We have a broadcast element and an audio-visual element. The audio-visual element associated with this system is intended to be easy to use from an end user's perspective, meaning that a lot of it is automated in terms of the microphones. Any of the control elements we have here will be intuitive and very simple to operate. That is absolutely our intention there as well. If it's not easy to use, you won't use it. And we don't want that to happen, and thus it'd be a waste of money. For the most part, that's essentially a very brief overview. Obviously, I'm sure Anya may have some input with regards to how this will connect with the HCTV television station, access station, and their role in this project as well, which we're happy part of both aspects of it. That's what HB does actually very well, is broadcast and audio visual as well as video conferencing systems. Forgive the commercial there, didn't mean to do that. But other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm here with my colleague Justin Dorsey. He is the system design engineer who actually designed this system, along with input from various members of the town of Harvard, and just listening to what you wanted to accomplish with it. So I think we have a very, very, very solid system in place here for you.
You wanted to say something, Dan?
Yeah, when we brought HB in, one of the key factors for the system in the new town hall was that it had to be wireless. And that drives a good deal of the cost associated with the whole program. These mics, that snake, won't exist anymore. You'll have gooseneck mics that are wireless. They'd be plugged in when they're done with. There are 11 of them, so that you can accommodate school committee with 2 additional gooseneck mics. There's also a wireless mic for the public, instead of having a wire that goes out. There's the broadcasting system within it, so that there's no reverberation through those mics on each side of the wall, so people will be able to hear it. As Chad said, it's all in tune. One of the things is that the cameras you have here, we found would not work back in that space, given the distance between where the walls were and the proscenium were to where the boards would be sitting. So changing out the cameras was key, and updating them to technology that is today, so that we're not having to make changes later on and invest yet again. It allows, the whole system was designed to allow for public presentations that were queued directly into the charter communications and cable. That's all done through a umbilical cord that will come out from behind where the board's table will be, out to the middle of the room and connect to a AV cart that has a projector that is designed for the space that we're in and for the screen. The screen itself was part of the contract with the builders doing the work. So, and again, speakers and everything else that needs to be done in the cable room, the upgrade of the cable equipment, is being paid for by cable,
By charter.
by charter.
If I may, one more important element I think is important to bring up here is the fact that when it comes down to pricing from an economic perspective, we were very clear to go within the confines of Massachusetts state contract. We actually exceeded those pricing levels, both in labor and in materials. And so in the Massachusetts state contract, it's basically the lowest price that is affordable to the state of Massachusetts, anyone utilizing that contract. That's been negotiated between us and the state quite heavily. And like I said, we not only met those guidelines, we exceeded them, went below them.
So this is just my way of interpreting, and it's just like if we go out and buy a police cruiser, we buy it off the state bid list, and it's all the rigmarole you would normally have to go through to ensure a fair price to the town has been taken care of.
Yes. It was negotiated approximately 3 months ago with the state of Mass, with the Commonwealth.
Does anybody have questions? Stu?
So I just want to double check. So when we look at documents now, when we look at documents in the new building, we're going to be able to show those to the audience in the room, and they'll be broadcast on cable in good quality, right?
Yes,
That's correct.
yes. So you will not be pointing a camera at a screen.
Right.
The feed from the presentation source, whether it's a laptop or a computer, will be scan converted through conversion hardware and brought directly into the production switcher, which the person operating that switcher can choose when to choose a full screen or go to a camera.
Right.
And then it will obviously then go to the projector to be projected onto your
Right, so the
screen.
envisionment for that would be this would run off of Julie's computer, let's say, wirelessly, to project onto this? You know, when we have documents that we're looking at, and we'd like everyone else to see what we're talking about?
So it's not a wireless system. Wireless from a computer is not always as reliable.
Okay,
So it is an HDMI or VGA connection that there would be an umbilical cable from a plate on the wall.
okay.
It could be anybody's computer. So there's no, so if you had a contractor coming in to present something to you, if you had somebody from another committee that was going through numbers, they would not necessarily have to give that presentation to your people first. They would be able to bring their own laptop in and plug it in.
And it'd be pretty easy once it was plugged in?
It's plug and
Plug and
play.
play.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lucy?
Well, I was looking at some of the questions and answers in the back of your proposal. And I was wondering, when you mentioned you provide training for all the users of the system, who are we thinking of being part of this training? All of the folks from the local access, anybody that does the coverage during a meeting? Would Julie and Liz be trained in how to set it up ahead of time? Who else? I mean, would you be basically opening it up to potential people that might be interested in volunteering to do this coverage for, because it seems like this is covered as sort of a one-time initial thing when you first set up the system, and then if we do something later, we're going to probably have to pay for it.
Not necessarily.
No, it's not necessarily, or it is actually a program where you train the trainers. I mean,
Yes.
the people who are trained are the ones who train the other people. You
Okay.
don't necessarily have to bring back HP Communications to do the training. Once somebody is qualified to do it
Okay.
and they've gone through their training, then they have the ability to train someone else to run the system.
Okay, and then I had another question on your projected timeline. We're already about a week behind. Is that going to ripple through all the way through, or if we make a decision tonight, can we pretty much stay? I mean, you have May 17th as our first live broadcast.
Yeah, so preemptively, now, I mean, we are, being that we are in such high demand. Usually our installation schedule is anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks out to even get started on a project. However, we've been working on this quite some time, and so what I've done is I preemptively have tentatively scheduled this project in our installation schedule, knowing that there are being changes in your schedule. That's not necessarily going to affect us.
Okay.
Now, if it takes longer to get us a PO, we're waiting for equipment to arrive. That could affect some of it somehow, but there's plenty of work here to kind of keep us going. My point is that our operations team, which is fairly substantial, they're aware of this project, the scope of it, the size of it, the time frame that's required to put the work in, and we've essentially assigned the resources to take care of that when you're ready for us to move, based on roughly on that time frame.
Okay, and with the work being done in the town hall, are they on, in sync to meet the needs of this?
I'm just waiting for the wire diagram to have the wires pulled.
Okay. And I have one last thing. I assume we're planning on doing both the small meeting room and the larger meeting room?
Initially, that wasn't planned, but it had been suggested, and it is in the plan that you have.
Right, I mean, because I saw that, and it's a breakdown. I was confused about the discount, though, if we do the second there, I can't remember.
I can allay some fears.
Okay.
I think will make Leo and Lucy very happy. I had a long conversation with Mr. Johnson about this, and I thought it would be a wise thing to wire this. Most of the cost of putting the cameras is the wiring, so reusing the two cameras that we have would not be a smart idea. So I'm assuming it will be included in what we purchase.
And part of that discount, I believe, that you're referring to
Yeah,
is
the $1,000 or something?
Yeah, so what it comes to is if you did not put in that second system, we would require an extra set of conversion components in the main system. Whereas by going with the new cameras and putting in that second conference room, that's where the discount lies. It's not that it's really a discount, it's that and it's kind of weird that you're adding a room. Now you don't need as much equipment in the other space, but that's essentially what happened, right?
Okay.
So that's kind of a discount, if you will. But if you go with the extra meeting room, we don't need some of the conversion components we have in the other one. Thus, $1,000 or $1,200.
Yeah, it was $1,000 roughly. Yeah, okay, that was it.
So,
I'm just curious, Anya, have you had a chance to look at this by any chance?
Well, I've been only here for 2 weeks, but I read everything at least twice. And at least to me, and working a little bit with Justin, I really like, his proposal and what he proposed for your town hall. I worked before in Westford for 7 years, and like 5.5 years ago, Westford kind of went through the same conversion that you are going to be going through. So I'm very familiar with it, and I really like, the proposal, and I think that the town is going to be very happy. And also what's nice about it is because you're getting it a little bit later than some of the other towns, so they all have SD, you're gonna have HD, and as you know, everybody's moving towards HD. So I think you might be the only station in the area that is getting HD cameras, only because you're getting few years later than everybody, else.
Leo, did you have anything?
No.
Okay, Tim, we have an action on this to
approve the proposal.
Do we have to approve it? I will make a motion that we approve the proposal from HB for providing audiovisual services for the main meeting room in the upper town hall and the smaller conference room. And it looks like it's for a total of about $91,000.
Second.
Any further discussion?
No, I'm good, I like it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stay off the ice.
Stay off the ice. Do my best.
Thank you very much.
Our pleasure.
If you
Look forward to,
If you want, you can go up that, there's a ramp going up,
excellent, thank you.
so you don't have to do any stairs.
You'll all be very pleased with the results when we're done, I guarantee it. Good.
Hopefully my hair will grow back in time to be on HDTV.
Hopefully.
Guys are really far away back there.
Yeah.
I wondered what took you so long to get back.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is to discuss and act on the Charter Commission ballot question. I did watch the last Selectmen's meeting on YouTube, so I wasn't totally disconnected from reality. And I noticed that Mr. Robbins was asked to come and speak, so for the first thing, I'd like to ask Worth if you'd have any more you did make a pretty good presentation last meeting, but do you have more to add?
Of course. Let me start with the question. Is it known that a petition has been submitted for a warrant article?
No, that's under my report.
Because that, I think, it doesn't necessarily impact your decision, but I think your decision on the ballot question should be taken in the context of the warrant article that has been submitted by petition. So nobody knows anything about it? Is that,
I haven't done my report yet, no.
okay. I have anticipated that might be the case. I think there's enough copies for everyone. In a nutshell, what this warrant article will do is ask town meeting if town meeting wants to have a committee appointed to essentially do the same thing that a charter commission would do, but without the full benefit of the legislation that made the charter commission approach possible. So it would be a committee that would be appointed by the moderator. It would be same number of people, 9 people, with the same mandate to essentially go write a charter, conduct multiple public hearings to take input from both citizens as well as employees as well as town officials. So essentially, the process, I think, would probably be more or less the same. Let me hasten to add, I'm not presenting this as a preferred alternative. The petitioners...
Excuse me, Worth, I mean, none of us, to my knowledge, have had a chance to read this, and Tim was going to report on it, so, I mean, you're getting ahead of yourself.
Well, I am, but would you want to...
Leo?
Excuse me. I'm getting a little older, and I can't really hear Worth as well as I could because of the conversation going on in the back of the room.
Okay.
All right?
Oh, Tim's...
I'm trying to listen intently, but
Just take a...
just give him a minute.
Tim's going to strong arm, though.
Okay.
Sorry about that, Mr. Chairman, but really, it was just enough.
No problem, but I do believe with the new system that this will be all done remotely.
What'd you say?
So it's not just... Sorry, Worth, keep going.
Would you like to break and let Tim give you his input on this
On the petition?
petition? So that,
Well, I mean, you know, it's in his report, and it'll be put on the next agenda, the February 23rd meeting, it's going to be put on the, on the warrant. I don't know what other action we do on it.
Well, can-
actually, yeah, nothing. I mean, you're right. It has met the condition. It has 10 signatures that will certify. And has it already been certified?
I don't know if it has, but even I know the signatures will be certified.
Right. So it will go on the warrant. I think the summary point is that, in effect, you're going to, in a few minutes or whenever, sometime soon, you're going to make a decision whether to put the ballot question on this year's ballot or next year's ballot. Make no mistake, the petitioners would prefer it to be on this year's ballot. But because of the time frame of when it was submitted, you have essentially the authority to make that choice this year or next year. The thinking in having this warrant article at town meeting is twofold. One is to give voters an depending on what you've done, but independent of whether it's on the ballot or not, to essentially hear a presentation at town meeting about charter and essentially make a decision, does the town want to go forward with development of a charter? Now, because if it's also on the ballot, then that risks to be a duplicate process. So the motion has been made in such a way, the last sentence in the motion is, if the Charter Commission is elected, if the question passes and the Charter Commission is elected, then this motion becomes null and void. So it wouldn't, in fact, go forward as a duplicate process. But it would have the effect of giving town meeting an opportunity to, which it wouldn't have otherwise. With only the question going on the ballot, there really wouldn't be any opportunity to stand up and let people talk about it.
And if it didn't if it's...
One second.
Oh.
Leo. I'm sorry, are you finished?
Sure, I'm happy to.
I wanted to ask Worth a question. Is that all right, Mr. Chairman? So if this warrant article passes, would that eliminate, then the moderator would choose a committee, correct? And would that committee replace the Charter Commission?
No. If the question is on the ballot,
Yeah.
and a Charter Commission is elected, then the last sentence says, in the event the Home Rule Charter ballot question requested by petition is approved,
Yep.
and a Charter Commission has been elected, this article
I
will
get
be
it.
nullified.
Okay.
So and in fact, there's only a few days after town meeting when the election occurs. So the moderator would never get to
Right.
the point
I
of
get-
making
I
the
get it.
appointments.
Yep.
Lucy?
I just want clarification that even with this citizens petition, and if the selectmen determine tonight to put the Charter Commission question on the ballot, that has gotten 15% of the registered voters signing that petition, we would, by the Tuesday after caucus, at least 9 people will have had to have taken out papers to be elected as commissioners to the Charter Commission, correct?
Well, that would be best. I mean, they could be elected by write-in if they haven't done papers, but yes, I mean, the
So this
expectation.
it wouldn't stop that Charter Commission process. If this wasn't in place and we were going ahead with the ballot question, people would have to understand in the next month, roughly, because caucus is on March 4th, or something like that.
Fifth, I
5th,
think.
that by the following Tuesday, they would have to submit papers if they wanted to be on the ballot, to be elected. So that needs to be clarity.
And would they have to be nominated at caucus, or do they just submit papers?
They can't be. I checked that with Janet. Apparently, because these are not positions that exist.
I see.
They won't
You're
exist
essentially
in-
creating them. Yeah,
Exactly.
I get it. Okay.
So they have to be done by
I believe you need
papers.
25 signatures to get someone on the Charter Commission.
I think that's right.
And it's anybody that turns in 25 certified signatures appears on the ballot, and the top 9 people
Okay.
become members of the Charter Commission.
Exactly right.
Stu.
So Worth, I'm curious, I know you've done a lot of work on this, so what outcome would you like to see here? I'm assuming you wanted to see it on the ballot versus town meeting, but I'm asking.
Well, I mean, at this point, it's going to be on town meeting because the petition has been submitted.
Right.
But yeah, I would much prefer that it's on the ballot than not on the ballot. If it's not on the ballot this year, then it's on the ballot next year. But, yeah, I would have a strong, and I say that just representing the nearly 700 people that signed the petition in the first place. That's what they were asking for, and I'm just representing those interests,
All right, so this was a backup plan
basically.
in case it doesn't get on for this ballot in April.
One of the things Bob said when he was here last week, and I took it very much to heart, the notion that we're a town meeting-run town. And I thought, in a way, this has the added benefit of letting the whole idea be discussed, debated, voted on by town meeting. That doesn't preclude, I mean, it doesn't change anything about the outcome of the ballot question, but it might, because if nothing else, it gives us a chance to stand up and say, okay, you voted for this here, but what you really want to do is follow up and vote for it on the ballot. And otherwise, we wouldn't really have any opportunity to make that kind of a pitch.
So I've been trying to do a little homework on charters and the ways and there are obviously two main routes. It's the special act, what this would be, a home rule petition basically, or the charter commission, which is outlined by state law, but they basically follow the same process, except this one doesn't have a timeline built into it. The charter commission says you should have a decision in 18 months, but it seems when you're suggesting a 9-person committee and holding the public hearings and everything, including publishing the final report or final recommendations 2 weeks prior to the 2017 meeting, you're incorporating in this petition what the state law is also suggesting should be done with this home rule petition format. So either way, the outcome would be going through the same process of scoping out what needs to be encompassed or what should we be considering in looking at the organization of the town government, and that's both the staff side and then the committee side, and then delivering something back for the town to approve. And then it goes to the legislature for approval.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just one thing I'd like to add real quickly. I went back and found, I wasn't on the board at the time this was submitted, but March 2011 report by the Division of Local Services about Harvard, and they're quite complimentary about our finance department and the fact that we have a finance director who oversees and coordinates. But their first recommendation is if I can find it, adopt a charter, that they think we really could use having clarity of lines of authority.
Except, Lucy, that's not exactly correct. That was one of the options they gave us.
This was one of their recommendations, was adopt a town charter. They didn't say how. They just said we should do it, and then the second one was appoint a facilities manager, which I thought was kind of fun. So it seems that this is something, and they actually made reference, and I'd forgotten about it, to the 2002 master plan, which had a recommendation that we should be looking at formalizing our structure. So it seems that this is a timely suggestion.
Ken.
Yeah, since this came up in, I guess, our second meeting of December, I've talked to you a couple times. I've tried to learn a lot about charters. And I thought the League of Women Voters evening was very good. I think I was the only selectman there, but I learned a lot there from the person who came in and talked about charters and how to do them. And, one of the towns that was mentioned that night was Groton, and I came across this report that's been done by the Mass Municipal Association for Groton, and it talked about the process they went through, and they made one attempt back in the early 90s that failed, and then they came back 10 years later and did it successfully. But looking back at that first attempt, they said advocates for change in the town recognized that the 1990s process had moved too quickly and without enough opportunities for resident and town official input. I guess that's my concern with this whole thing. I realize we have a petition. I realize it came together very late. And I realize there's not much time here. But I think, as the guy said at the League of Women Voters, this is a big change, and you need to go into this deliberately and with a lot of thought. And I don't like rushing into it. I don't understand the advantage of trying to do it very quickly. I'm afraid we're going to wind up the same way Groton did, and I would hate to see everybody put that effort in. I would like to go into it more deliberately. So I guess why the rush? I mean, what I would rather see, and I'd like to hear you comment on it, is if we were to vote on it in 2017 instead of 2016, in between, we could perhaps form a study group to look at what other towns have done with charters and think about what are the topics we want to address here. Because part of that vote in October, when it comes on the ballot, is whether or not we launch this group. And I would hate to see people, go into the ballot box right now with the amount of knowledge they have on charters, because it's a new concept here, and we haven't spent a lot of time talking it through and some of the issues we're trying to solve. And in towns that have done it successfully, they've done it more slowly and more deliberately. And so I guess what I'm wondering is, why is it so important to do it very quickly?
Well, I mean, I guess I take exception to the idea that we're doing it quickly. I mean, the recommendations to do it date back, depending on what you looked at, the master plan in 2002, the Division of Local Services in 2011. This is not a new idea. And so I would almost ask the question in reverse and say, why have we waited so long?
Well, except, Worth, just because the Division of Local Services says you need to have a charter commission, you have to. Why do you need a charter commission? And I see that we have to define the problem before we propose the solution. And it seems to me right now we've missed defining a problem. Now there might be problems, but nobody's defined it. So far, 2 solutions have been proposed by you. But nothing saying, well, what are we trying to fix? I mean, no, don't get me wrong. There are things that can be improved.
In my mind, the beauty of the process that's outlined by the constitutional amendment and then by the Mass General Law 43B is itself a very deliberative, it's not a rapid process. I mean, the Charter Commission process spells out like an 18-month timeline with multiple reviews, multiple steps along the way to make sure that everyone's input has been considered, that whatever is drafted is reviewed by the Attorney General to make sure that we don't stumble over some obscure state regulation that we didn't think about. The person that presented that you mentioned, Ken, actually, I went back to that same person to help us craft this motion because, and I think he's with the Collins Institute, Mike Ward, and I think you guys are planning to use the Collins Institute for some operational reviews. So, I mean, we're not thinking that we ought to do this blindly and in a vacuum. We're thinking, and we've sort of looked for guidance along the way. The starting point, I think, and Ron, the recommendation doesn't just make the recommendation without saying why. It actually speaks to the question of what's the value, what's the benefit of basically of having everything laid out and articulated. If somebody tried to understand how Harvard's government worked, how would they do that? I mean, the only thing they could do is sort of trial and error. I'll try this and see if that works, and if that doesn't work, I'll try something else. I think you don't have to think too hard to think of situations where people have volunteered for a job only to discover that either the job isn't doable or they're completely unclear about what it is they've been asked to do, what their actual authority is, what their responsibility is. None of that stuff to the degree that it's documented in the collection of bits and pieces since the town was formed, but never opened up, organized, brought together in a coherent, logical, organized fashion. I guarantee you there are conflicting stipulations. If you read through the bylaws that we've passed over the last several hundred years to say, well, let's just draw it out of there. I actually think that's basically the main part of the work of a charter commission, is to start with documenting what is, and then review it and talk to everybody involved and say, what should be different? I don't go into it with the idea that we need to massively change things. I'm guessing, one of the things I've read was the first 3 pages of the Hopkinton Charter, which was done about 5 or 6 years ago. And it's wonderful. There are 3 things in that first 3 pages. One, it says, we got some good folks here, and they're doing good work. The second thing is they summarize the 5 things that were the major changes made in the charter. And, they weren't that significant. They did go from town administrator to town manager. They did go from a weak to a strong police chief. They put in a recall provision. I think every town probably ought to have that, because, God forbid, but they changed the terms of the town clerk and the moderator from 1 year to 3 years, and there was a 5th thing. I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't huge. And then the last page is a summary and says, the process of going through this has made everybody clearer about how things work. And we think we've done something really useful for both the residents of the town as well as the officials and the employees.
I mean, I honestly like on without reading the details of, but knowing how the charter system works, I honestly like the approach of going to a town meeting and bringing the charter back to town meeting rather than an up or down vote, because as in the case of Groton, there were modifications made to it. But having gone through several of the charters, the level of detail of how things work isn't much different than's already defined in our bylaws.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, and it's not like I massively disagree with that. I think the charter process, the charter commission process is better, but I don't think that the appointed committee process is terrible. The statistics are something like, since the amendment was passed back in the 60s, there have been 130 charter commissions elected. There have been 90 charters created through the commission process, and there's been about 60 charters created through the appointed committee approach.
The numbers I got, there were 180 attempts at a charter, whether it's through the home rule petition or through the moderator appointing them, and 88 cities and towns are working on a charter developed under the Home Rule Amendment to the 19th.
No, that's right. I said 90, but I rounded.
And so there was less than a 50% success rate at that. If there were 180 attempts and there are 88 working under a charter, I assume that's pretty damn close to 50.
I think it was 130.
It was both.
But the number of commissions elected, I think, was 130. Then there's another 60 that were not done by charter commission in the first place. They were done by appointed committee.
Leo.
So, I may have this wrong, and I'm sure that there's plenty of people in the room here who will straighten me out if I do, but this discussion, which I think is an excellent discussion, is a discussion that we might have had before some 600-odd people signed a petition and so on, but we're going to have a charter. This is right? This is going to happen. It's either going to happen in 2016 or it's going to happen in 2017, correct?
A
If the
vote,
vote.
Vote.
a vote for a commission.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, if it passes, right, but it's either in 16 or it's in 17.
Correct.
And, you know, whether it's a good thing to do and it's a wise thing to do or not, that, again, I guess we can have some of that discussion between now and then, but my hunch, my feeling is, and this is just a feeling, is it's kind of like a root canal. I just like to get it over with and do it sooner rather than later, because, you know, my feeling is that most of what goes on in the town goes relatively smoothly. There's always going to be folks who are unhappy with the way some things are done, and there's always room for improvement. But if it's inevitable that this decision has to be made, and there's a good reason to put off making the decision, I'm all ears. I just don't know what that reason would be.
Okay.
And to me, Leo, the reason to put off making the decision is, you know, it's not just an election to pick the 9 people. There's also a question on there, as I understand it, whether or not we go ahead at all. And if it's voted down, then the 9 people, that doesn't matter.
Right.
And I guess what I wonder about when I look at the experience of places like Groton, who rushed into it the first time and it went nowhere, are we rushing into it? I mean, I've talked to a lot of people who signed the petition, and, you know, a lot of them were like, well, somebody asked me to sign a petition. Others were like, well, there was this secret task force doing something, and we since found out they weren't doing much. And so I just wonder if people are going to be in a good position to make a decision in April of this year. Perhaps they will be, and if it is like a root, I wouldn't describe it as a root canal.
You ever have a root canal?
Yeah, that's why I wouldn't describe it as one. Anyway, that's my concern. I look at the experience of other towns, and I just wonder if people have thought about it enough to make a good decision in April as to whether or not to even move forward with the process. And that to me is the red flag, like, wow, they went too fast the first time. Are we going too fast? And when I ask random people in town, there's not a lot of knowledge about charters or why we do this and what we're trying to get out of it. That's my concern.
Stu.
Okay, I guess when I looked at the agenda, I assumed we were talking about the 696 signature issue.
Right.
Because it said a ballot question. If there are 10 signatures on this is on the warrant. I mean, the 10 signatures, if they're certified, that's done. As far as the warrant article, the ballot question though, I agree with Leo, and I disagree with Ken in that if 696 people in this town sign something, it goes on the ballot. If it's too soon, it's too soon, but that's a lot of people to sign something, and technically, they might have missed it by 8 days, but I think, you know, I think you give the town the benefit of the doubt. You know, I had a discussion with someone about this morning. I said, well, if I were mayor, 2 weeks ago, if I were mayor, I would have rejected it because of the timing. But after cooling off and thinking about it more,
And you're not mayor.
and I'm not a mayor. I'm a
Yet, we may, you know, that could be arranged.
No.
To become a
Not
city.
with me being mayor. But I think.
You have to have 12,000 citizens.
We
to
can
be
get
a
them.
city.
But I think you have to say, if that many people signed it, it's quibbling over 8 days, it's this year, it's next year, seems like you're putting the ballot this year. You know, I'm gonna vote to put on the ballot. Seems like that's what, 696 people signed the thing. Some of them I know were confused. I think most of them were not. But I'm not going against 696 people in the town of Harvard that signed the petition. It seems like you'd do it, and that's the right way, the right thing to do.
I'd like to add to what Stu said, that the number of people that signed the petition would be considered a high turnout for an annual town meeting if they all showed up at an annual.
3 times what we've been getting lately.
So I think that shows a pretty significant interest on the part of the town in addressing this structure, you know, understanding and clarifying our structure. I think the other thing is, we recently, and last time, we got a report on this small group that Tim assembled. I have to be careful what I call them so we don't run into trouble. But, you know, they had some very small tweaks to the town administrator, and we have a proposed warrant article. I'm thinking one of the things we look at is truly what is the effective role of a town administrator? They were taking in some ways maybe just baby steps, and that's all we want to do. Other towns give the town administrator the ability to hire department heads. And if you want to look at it in terms of asking somebody to build a team to run a community, you weigh, is it appropriate for them to appoint and hire department heads or not? I mean, that's a big question for the selectmen to think about. We also had, at my urging last June, to look at, you know, do we appoint a town clerk, or is it an elected position? Because I'm concerned about the level of qualification town clerks need in this day and age, as opposed to the last time before Janet was the town clerk, what town clerks were expected to do. And I think that's another issue that really needs some thorough thinking. I've spoken to Janet about it. I understand her view on it. But I think these are topics that perhaps are appropriate at this juncture to be looking at, instead of piecemeal picking at this thing and then picking at that thing and making little tweaks. So I think it's timely, and I think we should put the ballot question out there now.
I have a question for Worth. Given that if it goes to the ballot, the process takes almost 2 years. If we put it.
It can.
It can. And right now you have negligible interest from probably the majority of people that are currently elected, other than the selectmen that know much about this process. I mean, you know, I've read charters where many other boards are appointed by the town manager, such as Board of Health, Conservation Commission. So we have a learning curve, and I hear from the 4 people that we interviewed from MMA and the former town administrators that the biggest mistake you can make is to rush it. But let's say it takes the 2 years. Would you advocate stopping any progress on making tweaks to the present form of how we do business at this time, considering that it's going to take a while and it might not pass?
You've really asked a number of questions in there, so let me just pick one of them.
Okay.
Because let's take the proposal from the working group and the probable draft warrant article to implement those changes. Think a little bit about what the timeline is for those changes to take effect. We're going to go to town meeting, we're going to, and let's say we approve everything. Then that gets passed over to our legislators to walk through the legislature to enact the special act. Optimistically, that might get done in 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months.
More realistically, it might not get done in this session, might leak over into next session and be close to a year. So, in effect, the relatively small changes that were recommended could take even after the decision to do it has been made, could take a year to actually implement and have in hand the changed law to make those operational changes. Possible suggestion could be, rather than go that route, rather than have to wait a half year to a year to actually realize it, why not have a memorandum of understanding, a handshake, say, between the selectmen and the town administrator to say, we're going to operate this way, but all that means is that instead of bringing in every new hire to be interviewed by the selectmen, we're going to essentially rubber stamp or give limited.
Well, I mean, I can address that very specifically from what Paul Cohen said. When it gets into, one of the part of the proposal was that the town administrator would hire the department head subject to confirmation by the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
That opens the field of candidates, because let's say we were gonna hire a new, whatever, department head, and we're gonna steal them from another town. When you get down to your final three, it's all public. There are people, actually, this is what Paul Cohen said, people actually hold back from throwing their hat in the ring because they don't want to say, hey, I'm bailing on a certain town.
Oh,
There
good
there are some things that we legally cannot do. We cannot, for signing the payroll and the vendor warrant, we're handcuffed by state law. The only thing we could do on the payroll warrant is we could designate one selectman to sign it. But if that one selectman is not available, the town employees do not get paid. It's theoretically possible, and it's never happened. If three of us didn't come in and sign the payroll warrant, paychecks would have to be held. It's never happened. And I know all of us have responded to this, at least the second email, saying, would you come down and sign the thing? Because the last thing you want to do is not pay your employees.
I think the main point I'm trying to get to is the fact that even the relatively small changes that you want to make
Yeah.
are not going to happen overnight. They're going to take a while.
I understand that, Worth.
And in a way, whereas the timeline doing that change and many others through the Charter Commission process might not be all that much different, because you don't have that lengthy delay from the time of the completion of the charter work to the point where it's enacted into law.
I got that, but that's assuming that the Charter Commission, the charter process goes forward successfully. If it doesn't go forward successfully, we're left holding the bag for what I consider some important tweaks to the way we do business that would be put on hold.
Well, and to answer the other question you asked, would I be saying we ought to freeze everything and make no changes in the meantime? Not at all.
All right.
Not at all. I mean, because I think the charter process ought to be organic, and therefore it ought to be accepting of the fact that the conditions halfway through the process could be different than they were at the beginning, especially if it does go 2 years. The way it's described, it's an 18-month process, but down in the fine language, there are possibilities to shorten it. You don't have to take all of the times allowed. You can make it shorter. This process, the one not through the Charter Commission approach, has no timeline. It can basically take what it takes. And in fact, one of the things that is mentioned in the attached document that I passed out is that this process does not require any public hearings. But the way we wrote this warrant article, we stipulated 3 public hearings. And this was with help from Mike Ward from Collins Institute. He helped craft this in such a way to be closer to the Charter Commission process than just what the law requires.
Yeah, on that point there, one of the things I do like about your latest petition is the fact that it goes to town meeting and a ballot vote to be enacted, because I think that's really important. I know in the town of Groton, they went to town meeting, they decided to leave, for example, the Board of Health being an elected body instead of making it appointed, which is something the Charter Commission had worked on. So I think going to town meeting on its way and then being voted on by the town is a much better process, and that's one of the things I do like about what you're proposing here.
You'd have to actively kill the vote process, because the vote process would trump
Right. It would.
the town meeting warrant article.
It would.
There is no way to kill that process.
Other than that fails at the ballot.
It fails at the ballot.
But
That's what-
it says right here, the vote process wouldn't work, right?
No,
No.
the proposed, Worth's proposed
The citizens petition
citizens petition,
says if we put it on the ballot for 2016 and it passes at the ballot, then the charter commission becomes the mechanism we use to develop a charter, as opposed to this special act charter, which is, so, it would overrule this passing at town meeting.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the other way around.
so the only way to do it with a moderator-appointed
Would
charter
be,
commission
it
in this
doesn't
time.
pass at the ballot.
Yeah. Mr.
But either
Killer,
way, it's on the a discussion. It could be a discussion for this. This will be a discussion at town meeting. Whether it's a vote on our ballot is what we
So
have to
if we
decide.
turn this down at town meeting and in April, elected the charter commission, then that's the one that skips town meeting, right? That just comes right back to a ballot vote? I'm just
Yes.
trying to get lost.
Yes, that
Why does
is,
it have to do that? I mean, Groton went back to town meeting. I mean, why does ours avoid town meeting?
it's not, what you're asking, why is
Of the charter commission?
Yeah,
why is the statutory process that way? And
but Groton did it the other way.
No, Groton
They-
had a moderator-appointed
Oh.
charter commission.
okay.
So,
Which is-
so,
Which is what the petition, the second petition is requesting.
so Worth, would you have any objections to moving forward on multiple paths to try to at least get something done, recognizing that one or more things could fail either at the ballot or town meeting? I mean, I don't want to be sitting here after a lot of people, Bob Eubank, Victor Norman, Janet Marie, Rick Maori, Alice von Lessica. I was missing in action for part of it, so I can't say me. Put in a lot of thought and effort into coming up with some things and some very good reasons. I think that we have to address an issue with the appointed versus elected town clerk. Stu wants us to address an issue with appointed versus elected constable. We have two paths.
Constables.
We have two paths forward. I mean, I'd be fine with going down every path and seeing what we at least get something.
That's my instinct as well. I think it would not make sense to stop everything else and just go in and wait till this completes. I don't see any reason, any need to do that.
Yeah, go ahead.
We could have got a lot of the charter work done by now. So if that's the case, I mean, there are these minor improvements that group worked on, and other things that are of interest that
Yeah.
we've talked about. What I'm hearing is there's no prohibition on moving ahead on those and letting the voters decide whether they like them or not. And we're going to decide about the whole charter thing either in 2016 or 2017. So unless I'm missing something, I see no reason to wait. I just don't.
So we're gonna be all in?
So
Go all in, yeah.
Well, I
So
think
somebody can make a motion?
I'll make
to-
a motion that we put the question for creating a charter commission on the ballot for the 2016 town elections.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna, one of the things that we're gonna have to rush through is to get people with knowledge. Getting new people is very important. I mean, you know, I personally have gone out and tried to recruit people that have an age with a 4 in front of it instead of somebody with a 6 or a 7 in front of it, because that to me is a problem with the town. Us old farts, except for Lucy and Stu.
Speak for yourself, Ron, speak for yourself.
Okay, you know, we're not the
And
future of the town.
remember those employment practices, about age questions.
Yeah. please.
So we're gonna have to actively recruit new people and experienced people to put the 25 signatures in.
I'm feeling this is a hostile workspace. I just want you to know that.
As the oldest guy here, Leo, I can be hostile.
How old are you?
69.
I'm older than you are.
You don't look it worth. A little, get a haircut, cut the gray off. It works like,
Fall down, crack your skull.
we're good, right?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm
Thank-
delighted, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Worth.
Okay. Stu, I want to see Linda here, and this is at the very end, and I assume that's,
Yeah, she's here for both of those things.
You okay?
meds. My anti-seizure meds.
Oh, yeah, don't
Please.
take that.
It would make for great TV viewing.
Well, you know, we're
Last, 2 meetings ago, it
Yeah, there was
was,
enough of that TV.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is I'd like to jump way ahead on the agenda to item 9, Juliet. Act on paving, allowing,
I first, right?
I and J.
Yeah,
Okay.
I and J.
Okay, because I see the superintendent is here, and I, you know what, I changed my mind. I'd like to see you here, so please come up.
gotta find it.
Evening, Linda.
Hey. You want an early night, huh?
No.
Okay, I'll just stay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boys will appreciate it.
Yeah.
So the first item is act on the initial compliance certificate, which I have to sign, and I need the authority to sign it, and I think it's in our package.
It is.
That's a
So,
lot of rules of the road here.
Yes, starting a long road.
so I think it's just a pro forma thing that it's just got to be signed, and you all have to have it in first week in March, something?
Right.
Okay. So,
So I read it this afternoon, and it appears to me it's just like we're acknowledging we're going to play by their rules. And we've done that before.
We're taking their money.
Well,
We just have
some.
Linda catch everyone up so the public, I don't know if everyone here even knows, but so the public can hear just quick, short version.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Last Wednesday, on the 25th of January, I went down to Boston to witness the Mass School Building Authority's vote. And we were one of 26 districts to actually be accepted into the grant program. So ours went forward for a positive vote. And then we also received the second vote, which is a choice. You can be a part of that right away, or you can delay that second vote a little bit longer. The second vote just starts the clock of the 270 days you have basically to take the vote to the town for the feasibility and design warrant. And so it was very exciting. Afterwards, if you received the second vote that day, then you were taken into a smaller room where you could ask questions to the project coordinators. And we got more details about the timeline, more details about the next steps. And they're really planning, obviously, since some of you were here when Bromfield was done, but just walking us through every part of it along the way. And I think we were pleasantly surprised at almost 45% reimbursement rate. So that was great.
She's exaggerating, it's only 44.68%.
That's great.
I'm rounding up.
That's great.
It is great. We're really, really wonderful.
So when you got the second vote, it was to go ahead with the feasibility study?
No, the second vote was to start the timeline of 270 days to
For
get
your-
to town vote.
Okay, but we can do it a lot faster than that, obviously.
Right,
Up to.
exactly. You have up to 270 days. Yeah, so there was no reason for us to delay. Some places needed to delay in order to have a longer period of time to get to town meeting. So very excited.
And town meeting has to approve all this is for the feasibility study first?
It is. We've come to a figure of 500,000, up to 500,000. But that is the full amount, and that would be reimbursed at the 44 point, almost 7, 44.7.
44.7.
We'll call 45.
Thank you.
We're all friends here.
Just about 45.
And then do we get a different percentage when we get to actual construction?
Yes, it's recalculated for the construction.
Okay.
Yep. We think we'll still be okay, because there's a chance to get incentive points through the process, and they'll recalculate the, socioeconomic factors that they put into that. May help us that Devon's is building on that.
This was the highest ranking project, by the way, for all the projects the capital committee rated this year. So, we strongly endorse this.
Excellent.
So you have a warrant article ready to go?
We do. Actually, they gave us model language for that, too. So Tim's on it.
That's great. So you need a vote to authorize
To
his
sign the-
signature?
Right. I also wanted to just say, since we may be being recorded, I'm sure, we're going to have a public forum just to give more information out to the townspeople on February 25th at 7 o'clock at the elementary school.
I move that we authorize the chair to sign the initial compliance certification, Town of Harvard, Hildreth Elementary School, MSBA project number 2015012500005.
I think you're just making up those numbers, but I second it.
That's like doing my social security.
Motion.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. Linda, I received another, both Tim and I received another email today from that there's another, I haven't had time to digest it, but there's another signature required and possibly a warrant article or ballot question.
I have the warrant article and ballot question geared up.
Okay.
The blanks will be filled in by Dr. Dwight and the school committee.
Okay, and that will be on this year's ATM and this year's,
April's town meeting and town election.
okay, so next meeting we'll act on that and.
Sure.
And please, don't hit me in the head.
Not at all.
Please.
What you need, sure.
If I miss something,
We will be on it,
okay,
and I'll be communicating with Tim regularly.
okay.
Thank you.
Next thing is the parking lot.
No.
Act on allowing paving by the school department on town property of the parking lot. Stu, you want to take it?
Sure. Basically, the paving of the parking lot's been on the drawing boards for probably 16 years, since the Brownfield addition was done. It's been on there, it's been on the 2002 Town Center Master Plan, pave it, we address parking in the center of town. It's high, and Linda, correct me if I'm wrong anywhere, it's been high on the school committee's agenda for a number of issues, safety, a number of safety issues with the dumpster in line of sight with cars coming out, and pedestrians walking out from the dumpsters at all times of the day. It's a bad surface to plow because it's really irregular. While there are about 110 parking spots there now, there are only 110 parking spots when people know how to park in there. When people don't park there every day, you lose a great number of those spots because the kids pull up and the teachers pull up in places. And so the school committee did an engineering study earlier this year, or late fall, and came up with a plan. They've been showing it around to committees. I brought it up here that they're in the process of doing this. So now they're at the point where they have a Concon hearing and historical commission hearing, but no, they're getting, planning board unanimously endorsed it. So they're basically ready to go, but the little caveat here is that in 1989, the town bought the property. Most people in town, I think, would think the school owned the parking lot, and the town, in fact, owns the parking lot. So it's not actually transferring the ownership, but we have to allow them to pave the parking lot. And they found the resources to do it through the Devon's account to pay for this project. So I think they were asking us to allow them to do that.
Allow them to pay to pave the parking lot?
Right.
And put lights up.
And in exchange, we get selectmen designated parking space.
That's pretty cool.
So I'm compelled, I have to reveal, I have a conflict of interest on this one, because my wife has been complaining about that parking lot
Since the
we
day you
moved to
moved in?
town. And her complaint isn't that it's hard to find a spot or any of that. It's that her shoes
Get dirty?
dirty on the way into the school. So I got no choice on this one, Mr. Chairman.
You need to recuse yourself.
No, I need to be on record that I said, this is a very good idea.
Okay, we want a happy home.
So,
Can I get a motion, Stu?
I moved that, yeah, me. I moved it.
I move that we allow the school committee to pave what's known as the Brownfield parking lot, and after they've gotten all the approvals that they need to get.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
Do we need to say anything about adding lights, or is that
Oh,
covered
they're-
in your motion?
Though that, I mean.
It's
they-
part of what they're doing.
It's part of
No, I know
they're
that.
putting lights, and they're
So
getting, historical commission has to agree to the lights, and the light's gonna be downward facing and on a timer.
Stripes on the pavement.
And not high, and
All
they're
right,
they're
all
gonna
right.
be handicap and ADA parking, and, I'm repeating myself, there's gonna be visitor parking, because one of the issues now is the schools would like people not parking in the circle, and there's no visitor parking, so people park in the circle, because otherwise you can't find it. So some seniors aren't gonna be happy, because senior high school students are gonna have to park in the back lot, but there'll be visitor parking, so people having business on a short-term basis will park in visitor parking.
Sounds like a great plan.
Okay, wait.
It's the longest motion in history.
Wait a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, moving back to item, warrant, item number 4, discuss warrant articles. All that was meant to see if everybody concurs with having Mr. Bragan direct the town council to draft an appropriate article for the town clerk. Also, for appointing constable, I think, Stu, we need some input on the number of vice constables, or whatever you call them.
Can I address the town clerk? I think since we are going to be putting the discussion of the charter before the town in the spring, I would defer that to being part of the discussion of the charter. My understanding from speaking with Janet is that she will serve the balance of her term, which goes till 2018.
Oh, good. Makes sense.
She did not indicate she was going to be retiring sooner when I spoke to her.
She doesn't have a clock on her computer like Lorraine?
Not quite. She's not a short timer yet. She's not a short timer yet. And, you know, it could change. She could, you know, something could change. But I think in the meantime, it seems it would be more appropriate to consider the pros and cons of it through a charter commission than.
Well, except, I think Mr. Robbins supported moving forward on the other
I
things.
understand that.
And that changing it from appointed to elected still means that Janet serves out her term.
I understand that.
And at least we can draft the article and decide next meeting whether we put it on. And you and Tim and talk to Janet and see how she feels about it. I just don't want to be in the situation of finding that Janet.
Something changes sooner and we're stuck?
Something changes sooner and we have difficulty filling the position with a qualified person. At least we've hedged our bets.
Okay. If that's what you'd like, I'm fine to go along with it.
And Stu, the only thing on the constable is how many.
I was hoping we could say 3, and, I mean, I only know of one person in town that's really that interested, but it gives us some backup, and it has to, well, I'm just asking, we're putting this on town meeting warrant, right? So if the town could vote it down, but it seems like a reasonable thing, and it's gonna help at least one town resident, and it could help us for future things. Janet didn't seem opposed to the idea, so I think it was probably all right.
Okay, so we would it would be a point up to 3?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, that pretty much kills our, the next one is discuss and act on recommendation of town governance group to draft home rule petition to allow expanding authority at town meeting. Enclosed in the package was a draft that was prepared and given to the working group for looking into the functions of town governance, and extracted out of that was certain bullet points. I took an attempt at bucking for Mark Lanza's job, and I'm not going to go for a second career as an attorney, so it was just what you see in front of you. If you read the strike-throughs or deletes and the underlines were added, because I have a color printer and I look at it that way, is just something to pass on to Mark, along with the recommendations of the working group, and to ensure that we have something for the February 23rd meeting for a warrant article.
I just, the initial draft was done by Tim?
Me.
And then who did these edits?
There was an initial draft, and then there were comments, like you'll
Oh,
see.
so you did the edits too?
I did the
Okay.
edits too. So like, for instance, where it item H on the bottom of the first page, I had treasurer, and official title is
Treasurer, tax collector.
treasurer, tax collector.
Yeah.
So this would go to Mark, actually, to be formalized?
Yes, along with the document that was passed out by the working group to, I mean,
So the idea is to make this sort of match what the working group has recommended? Is that the idea?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we're running a little behind, so it's time for public communication. So let's take that up. If anybody, a member of the public, would like to come forward, to kindly come forward to the microphone.
So
Sorry, Lucy.
I just want to, both this and any other tweaks, for lack of a better word, that we might make, like if we take the town clerk to town, that goes to town meeting, and the constable thing, these doesn't preclude revisiting them in the charter process.
No,
You all
no.
understand that it's still open.
It's still open.
Okay.
And one of the things that I knew about the appointing town clerk, I knew about constable, and then the working group, we deliberately separated them so they could each be individually discussed on their merits.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry, Billy, I got ahead of myself trying to catch up, so.
And I slowed him down, sorry.
Well, once we have a charter.
You'll be a selectman.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Billy Swolster, Elm Street. I want to publicly communicate about the next item, the report on the library accessibility. You guys will be discussing it? If not, I can sit down.
Sorry.
You have a report
we
from
don't
the
have the
architect?
report yet, no.
We don't have the report yet.
So,
Okay, I mean, I am reading the minutes correctly, however.
you mean the agenda?
Agenda?
The agenda.
It was put on the agenda
In
and
hopes that we would have it.
Okay, good. So I guess I will say these things because maybe they can even be some of them incorporated in the report. Will the report be publicly available? Will it
Yes.
it'll be posted on the town website or something?
yes.
Okay. Do we know if Brian Valentine has reviewed the detailed recommendations in the Municipal Buildings Committee report about library
We
accessibility?
had my copy of the book. I don't know if we gave it was given it to him or not.
I think we did.
I think we did. I had kept a copy of a three-ring binder
The
about an inch.
2010?
About an inch thick of it was titled preliminary report, but it was the only one I
Yeah,
had.
I mean, it's also on the web. I mean, click, and you've got it, because there's a detailed discussion. I'm not speaking to how good that is. Do you know if Brian Valentine himself has any direct experience working with the AAB?
Yes.
Yes, he has worked with the AAB.
Yes.
Great. Will he be addressing at all issues other than accessibility? For example, I mean, because in the MBC report, there are other potential code compliance issues, and if there are going to be other cost drivers or costs associated with dealing with this building,
He was just charged with the accessibility issue.
so he will not be discussing the other things. And do you guys have any plans to find out about those, or? I mean, for example, if the building needs sprinklers, that'll cost some money.
In the motion that was made to engage the architect, it did not include addressing code issues.
Right. Do you have any plans? How will you gain information on that to inform your decision-making or the town's decision-making?
So, if we need to do, which I'm sure we will need to do, improvements for accessibility, they will trigger the threshold in terms of expense. I'm quite certain that'll require us to do all the code compliance, so it's going to have to be addressed at that point in time.
Or if it doesn't, if we don't change, if it's not considered a change in use.
I'm talking about the value of the improvements.
Right, no, I was saying if the accessibility improvements don't trigger,
Yeah, they'd have to,
Threshold.
the threshold's what, 275?
It's 30% of the value.
Right, so it's
Yeah.
275, so it'd have to be less than 100 grand. It's going to be a whole lot more than that, so.
no, I thought you said 275 was the threshold.
No,
Is
275.
it
It's the
value?
value of the building.
Yeah.
Not
This
the- not the
discussion
lot that-
underscores,
Not the lot that it's on. No,
it's-
Okay, all
Very
right.
clear that the value of the building is, by assessed value, is 270-something thousand, and it's 30% of that value. If you exceed, then you need
Triggers the other stuff.
triggers the other stuff. As far as not triggering any of the other stuff is if there is a change of use, then you will automatically
Right, no, I
trigger
know
the
that.
sprinkler issue.
this discussion underscores the importance of figuring that stuff out. I mean, I think we'll need some, I think we should pay for it, I think it'll be swell, but I don't get to, no, I mean, I understand, I don't get to decide that, and it's just important that it be dealt with sort of as the process.
So it's an iterative process, though. That's,
And there
Right.
was a discussion when Tim and I walked through this building with the architect, what if? And one of the things that I brought up specifically was, what if the windows are replaced? And there's not a straightforward answer to that, because there's things that don't trigger and things that trigger. So, but going forward, if somebody wanted to replace the windows in this building, it could trigger, it's theoretically possible it could trigger sprinklers. Don't know yet. But he has not been tasked to do that. He's only been tasked to address the compliance issues.
So your plan is to worry about that stuff later, or to put it in a nicer way, to do an iterative process? And this iteration is about accessibility, or am I missing something?
Leo?
so if there were, I think it's unlikely, but if there were not significant cost associated with getting the accessibility addressed, then the decision might be not to address those other issues. That's very unlikely, in my opinion. So the charge was, first of all, to understand that, because without accessibility, the conversation doesn't go any further. At the next sort of step here would be to get that data back in, understand what the cost of that might be, and then decide what else needs to be looked at. All of this is kind of being done gratis, yes, essentially?
Currently.
It's all, they're just doing this as a favor to us, so when we get serious about this, we're gonna actually have to get some money to do it and all that sort of stuff.
Good. Are you guys going to discuss the appointment, the appointments to the, whatever that joint group?
To the access committee?
Yeah.
Subcommittee, yes.
9A.
You are, okay.
It's on the agenda.
I know, but so is this. Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, Paul Richards, Westcott Road. since we're going to be voting at town meeting on the various government changes, it looks like, is the report from the town governance group available to the public? Is that what was not available to the public was the testimony of the experts and what they've said to you, and I would certainly like to know what the report says.
The report is on the town website.
It's up?
Yep, on the town administrator page, underneath reports.
Great, thanks.
Paul, if you approach, I will give you your personal autographed copy,
Oh.
except I didn't sign it.
Didn't sign it.
He didn't sign it. You might want to get the signature.
Anyone else for public comment?
Any more public comment?
My name is Evelyn Burke. I'm on the Affordable Housing Committee, and I've been concerned about the number of select people who have been put on the committee. Not the number now, but is this going to continue? That's my question.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Hi, Evelyn. How are you? So we'll be making appointments in probably about 10 minutes to the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. So you'll have your answer in 10 minutes.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, any more for public comment? Seeing none, I'm going to skip item 7 because we do not have the architect's report. Item number 8 is the town administrator report.
I don't think I have to mention the petition we received today. I think that was taken care of. We did receive an email, well, it was in my report for a reason. We did receive an email today from the State Department of Education, and I already have the articles and the ballot question needed for town meeting.
Okay.
And as I said, Dr. Dwight, there are some items that need to be inserted, and she's agreed to get those to me before you receive a draft of the warrant.
That's on what we voted on earlier.
That's correct. I'm gonna pass this out to the board so you can take a look at it and we can discuss it at the next meeting. I've been noticing that the state has, during some grant programs that they're putting out there, they are putting more and more emphasis on the community impact groups that they've been putting together, the communities have been signing up for. What I'm giving you is the information from the state website regarding that. And what brings it up is that we're seeing programs like Mass Department of Transportation is announcing Complete Streets funding. It's a new program that they have, but during the program, you get additional points if you're a community compact, cabinet part of the community compact group, and if we were going in, let's say, against the town of Boxborough for the same funding, Boxborough currently is a community compact group town, and we're not, so they would have an advantage. So it's something I'm giving you just to take a look at and to see. I've given you also copies of other communities, the communities around us, Lancasters, Boxboroughs, Littletons, I believe that's everybody. You have those compacts at the back of the packets. It's, again, something for discussion at the next meeting if the town wants to pursue that route.
And is it really just, it's a way of getting funding?
It's more of a best practices issue, agreement between the town and the state on the number, you pick your best 3 best practices you want to work on, and you can get, if you're part of the group and you go for grants and so forth, you get funding.
And if you're not part of the cabinet, you don't get funding?
You don't get the, you don't get the additional points.
Go on the bad boy line.
So it's like the CPA, if you have the 3% surcharge, you get more of this, you get more of a match from the state.
It's more of a carrot and stick issue as opposed to, the CPA is whatever the town.
No, I'm just,
Yes.
I'm just comparing the carrot and sticks in different ways that people know about.
show the state how to take care of their OPEB liabilities that we're addressing and they're not.
Uh-huh. Which they refuse to address, and I can't wait till that bites them. Anyway, the next issue I have is I was contacted by Bay State Consultants, and if you know the name, they're the ones who help us with our aggregation of power for town buildings and do that. The state has a program that's out there, and it's called Municipal Electric Aggregation, where if the town so chooses, we can start going down a path where all the residents and businesses in town would be aggregated and would get a reduced electrical. So what I did is giving you those documents as well to take a look at, and at the next meeting, we can decide if it's something we want to go forward with. It would require an initial town meeting vote. That's why I'm giving it to you now, so that we have it in before Thursday, and we can draft something up. I've also asked John Shortsleeve if he would be able to attend to answer any questions the board may have at the next meeting.
And we don't have to have a municipal electric department to be
No.
part of this?
No, you're basically buying electricity as a group.
Right, but we don't have, it would be coming through National Grid then? Who provides?
You have to be National Grid.
Okay,
Basic.
that's what
You have to have National Grid's basic service.
Okay,
I asked small questions with respect to what if you have solar on your house, and they said, nope, doesn't affect it, they can be in it, number of different things.
okay.
So, I just thought it was something that may benefit the townspeople.
And would it have to be on this year's warrant? Would we move that fast, or?
We would just draft something up, and then if you want to take it off, after you talk to him and ask him questions. I've given you the material so that you can read it. The only other thing is tomorrow night is the All Boards meeting. It's at the Bromfield Library, and it's at 7 o'clock.
I'm sorry, I thought it's the high school library, not the
That's the Bromfield.
The Bromfield Library.
Okay.
The Bromfield.
Okay.
I think I called it.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
did.
I was corrected by Steve when I first got here that it's not Bromfield, it's the Bromfield.
Okay.
That's why I said the Bromfield Library.
Right?
It's in the school building.
In the
yes.
school building.
Okay, the media center.
I have another meeting, but how, I'll try
It's
and
very
get to it.
important, Lucy, that you be there. We're not going to start without you.
I'm sure you'll be really happy I'm not there. Less of a thorn.
That's it, Tim?
That's it. It's only been a week.
Okay. Next is action and discussion items, appointments to the Old Library Access Committee. I see Wendy's here, right?
No?
No.
She did say she was gonna try and be here, but Mark wasn't.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No,
So neither Wendy or Mark is here,
no.
and I wanted to talk to them both.
At the last meeting, I asked when this was deferred if we would still make this appointment tonight, and I was told yes.
So then make a motion to waive the rules for people being here.
Well, we created another committee when you weren't here and appointed people to it. The Finance Director Search Committee. We created that, and we suggested who should be on it and appointed
That's
our...
Wendy.
Oh, here comes Wendy, though.
Here she is.
Okay. All right. Wendy, you're,
Good timing.
I'm free.
okay. Okay. So we're here to make appointments to the Old Library Access Committee. So you came here before and told us all your wonderful things you experience and resume and all that good stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
So what don't we know?
So at the last meeting, the board accepted your resignation from the Historic Commission. Did I get that right, Ken?
Historical.
Historical
commission, okay? And I just, and it was rather, you weren't on it very long, and I just wanted to understand that you would follow through and finish this task. Is that fair? You would?
Yes, so I see this as something different from how things played out with the Historical Commission.
Okay.
So
Okay. That's fine with me.
I feel committed to this.
Okay. That's what I wanted to hear.
Can I make a motion? I move that we appoint Wendy McGann to the Old Library Accessibility Subcommittee.
I would second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sure.
It's unanimous. Thank you,
Great,
Wendy.
thank you.
Thank
I
you
look
for coming.
forward to working on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
So are we not going to appoint Mark, or?
I mean, put it this way, why don't you make the motion to appoint Mark? I would like to have talked to him to see how he's going to handle his conflict betwing on a board of directors of an entity that's interested in leasing the building and being somebody on a committee that's supposed to be representing the town. So if someone wants to make a motion, I'm not going to argue with it.
I move we appoint Mark Mkhitaryan to the Old Library Accessibility Subcommittee.
Second.
And then I think at the time that we created this committee, we were saying it would be good to have somebody from the Cultural Collaborative on it, since they had expressed the most interest in leasing this building and had also expressed interest in the accessibility problem and trying to help solve it. So it was what we asked for.
Yeah, if I could reinforce that, no, that's the meeting you had to leave, or it was the one after that, I
After.
forget, the one after, the one.
It was after, I think.
After, but we did specifically indicate we wanted somebody from that group. So we kind of, in setting it up, and we voted unanimously on it, in setting it up, we decided we wanted, we recognized that conflict, but we wanted that. I personally, having worked with many of the directors of the group, think Mark is an excellent choice. And I wholeheartedly support this.
Yeah, we had a good meeting.
Yeah,
Yep.
Leo and I met with Mark and Willie, and I thought Mark was really strong.
Yeah, and I know Mark. I mean, I think he's a talented guy.
He's a
so-
solid guy, yeah. So I think that we moved in,
Yeah.
seconded?
Yes, we
All
have.
those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay, Municipal Affordable Housing Trust appointments. Ken, you had one.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we extend the terms of Bruce Nickerson and Manny Lindo to June 30th of 2017.
Second?
Any further discussion? It's
2017.
26,
Okay.
is it 27?
17.
2017.
Oh, because the other two are 2016. Okay.
Wait a second, I thought, oh, well, Bruce's, all right, I got it.
No, I looked him up today.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment, which is, we talked earlier, last, November, about expanding the number of selectmen on the group, and I had indicated I would like to be on it, and I sort of stepped aside from my elders here, but it's nice to have some.
Wait, literally or figuratively?
He meant an experience on the board.
That's exactly what I meant. Anyway.
You're welcome.
I said I kind of I said I would wait for an opening, but, here's two people who are on it, want to stay on it, so that's not an opening in my mind, so.
Great.
Anyway, why I made that motion.
So, motion to extend Manny's and Bruce's term till June 30th, 2017. It's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Next action discussion item is to endorse the presidential primary.
Watch your blood pressure now.
And Republican primary.
Well,
I think we're going to have to bifurcate the motion for the chairman.
Yeah.
I'm thinking green here. I'm thinking, we go a couple more months and there won't, the Republican ballot won't be so darn long.
Well,
So,
I move we endorse the presidential primary warrant.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay.
What happens if we don't?
They call it off. It's called off.
So there's no,
There's no election.
Okay.
no primary.
Okay. You have to sign it too.
This next one's like about as esoteric as you could get, isn't it? I mean,
Really, and I want to know, what is our temporary increased resident population, sir? Mr. Reagan, you know?
5,807
5,800?
per Janet.
What was it?
5,807.
As of February 2nd?
Yes.
No babies born today, huh?
That's her estimate.
It's a very precise estimate.
So
Do we
you
have
you
to-
have one, Julie, you have one that's filled out with the
Yep, it's all
number.
spelled out.
So do you need a motion, or can I just start signing?
I need a motion to sign the,
I move we sign the ABCC population and estimate.
Second?
all those in favor?
Aye.
I like very truly yours, local license.
10,000, we automatically have the same number.
Look at that.
Our number of licenses doesn't change.
Change no matter, right? Oh, yeah.
You have to get over 10,000 population to change it. Or
You must send it in.
But I,
or go to the legislature and
Or
ask
you
them to change,
lose.
give you special action.
am I correct in saying that we can have in the order of 19 licenses?
That's correct.
Harvard could rock.
We could really be, the destination.
Okay, well, that's
Well, the
going
Old
around.
Timers is closing.
Act on
It is?
entertainment
It could move
license
here.
request.
Really?
It could move here.
What do we got?
And we're item 9 Echo, act on entertainment license request from the Unitarian Church for the Schools Trust Gala.
And I have spoken with Chief Denmark, and there were no issues last year with the event.
They look a little shifty, I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, that's Molly, be careful.
Really? And the other guy's my neighbor. I don't trust him.
So I would, you looking for a
No.
motion?
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta talk to you after the meeting. I don't, no glasses. Sorry.
So you need a motion?
I need a motion, please.
I move that we approve the entertainment license request from the Unitarian Church for the Schools Trust Gala on March 12th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have to sign something.
It's coming around.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, you're all set.
Buy your tickets. Great.
Okay, next item is to
Surprised Billy didn't stay for that one.
act on sending letter to Water and Sewer Commission regarding capacity. And let me just briefly explain it. I've gone back and forth with Cindy Russo, who's chairman of the Water and Sewer Commission, about getting them to actually tell us, which is part of the steps in the process of what we can have for, add to the sewer capacity on the town. So this is formally requesting that they act on that. And I've shared this draft with Cindy, and she thinks it's fine, would be fine with the commission. So it's just formally asking them to address the issue, provide a response by February 24th, which was timed to be on our agenda. We could get it in the package for our first meeting in March. That's why I put that. Good?
Looks good.
Yeah. So can I get a motion authorizing these?
I move that the chair sign the letter to the Water and Sewer Commission as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay. Next item is just discuss dissolving of the EDC. There was a planning board vote on
I think it was last night.
last night. So what I was going to do was include an appropriate warrant article for the next meeting, because the EDC, EDC was created by a town meeting vote, so
Yeah.
in order to solve it, we need a town meeting vote, so,
That's a good idea.
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
The next one is act upon dissolving the DIAT. They made their final report several months ago, and it's a Board of Selectmen created committee, so.
So moved.
Second. They actually recommended it at the.
Yes, they did.
In their
Yeah.
report.
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I would hope that somebody learns how to update their spreadsheet.
I would also ask that for the people that put a heck of a lot of time in it, that we
send letters, yes.
send a letter
Oh, yeah, they
thanking
worked their
them.
butts off.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It was very good work, I thought.
And that concludes our action and discussion items. Moving on to item 10, Selectmen reports in preparation for all boards meeting. I was going to briefly, I'm sure as we go around the table tomorrow night, I was going to briefly mention something on the Board of Selectmen, so if people can either state something they'd like me to bring up, or summarize or provide any input on, if asked, what do I need to say?
Looking for input?
Yeah.
Well, two things that I think would be good to share with the group. Both are somewhat in the category of sagas, but I think it'd be good to update the group on where we are when looking at the old library.
Okay.
And I also think this whole charter thing that we talked about tonight will be sort of news to a lot of people there and be good to share. So those are two items.
Right, how much of this is restricted to financially related items and how much to just sort of general stuff?
It's usually pretty financial.
That's
Is it
my
pretty-
thought, yeah.
I mean,
The library's a financial.
Yeah, the
certainly.
That is
library.
definitely financial. Okay, well, then maybe the charter one's not. But certainly the library is.
Yeah, I'm just trying to.
There's one issue that I was gonna bring up tomorrow night, but I'm happy to have you bring it up instead, which is fine. It's that, with the the actuality of about 140 new dwelling units in Devon's, all of which will be within the traditional historical boundaries and political boundaries of Harvard. It's going to mean that there's probably going to be about 100, at least 100, perhaps maybe more, new school children.
Yeah, I can't remember what they estimated in their
I thought the factor
report.
was 0.7, but
Yeah, so.
they don't know, it's a
So 100
guess.
to 0.7 times 140?
Yeah.
Yeah, so about 100?
120?
That's 140, I think. They're using them all up, aren't they?
I
Yeah,
thought it was 140 units.
yeah.
I thought they left some for Adams Circle.
There's about a dozen below the
Right,
retaining
before the,
Okay.
yeah, so.
So maybe it's
What I
130,
heard
whatever it
it's
is. There's
some
gonna
number
be
of kids
between
coming.
90 to, and with it's gonna come, as long as the Devon's contract is in place, is gonna come the stipend that goes with them. That, there'll be some school choice students and revenue that'll be displaced, because we may not have room, right, that sort of thing. But it might, I was gonna suggest that the finance committee and the school committee start to think about earmarking a portion of the Devon's revenue for capital. In other words, to use it to support debt expenditures on improvements to the schools. Because if the new marginal cost up to a certain number of students is not going to increase, so physical plant, that kind of stuff's not going to increase. So a lot of that cash is going to be extra cash, and if they were to put aside, 30% or whatever, some portion, I don't know what the right number is, of the Devon's revenue for that kind of thing, it would give them and the town a lot more flexibility on capital projects going forward. So I was just going to suggest that because it is going to be new money.
And I think you can just have a brief report that the town hall project is moving along and it's on schedule and it's
On budget.
on budget.
Yeah.
Well, Well, we can say that. We should say that,
We can,
correct?
right now we can, yep.
On Leo's, I think you said it very eloquently, so maybe as it goes around, we'll play it by ear. and
Sure.
I might ask people to,
If they may want to recognize you as chair, and if they do,
yeah,
they're.
I'm just trying to be out in front of it, and make sure
Sure.
that whatever, if asked to say something on behalf of the board, you guys all.
I guess I do worry, though, a little bit about delving into, well, a few things. Delving into the school committee's business, but more importantly, we always talked about not trying to incorporate that money to ongoing expenses, one-time expenses, like they're using a lot of that for the technology.
Yep.
And so that, and while it's a 3-year lease, it's a very short-term
Sure.
lease. And I worry about encumbering that for debt. It's one of the things I think we should be cognizant of with the contract is that there's a really nice new middle high school next door in Air Shirley, and that's way under capacity. And they would like to get this contract too. And I think we need to, I think the school committee can do things like we're doing with CPC funds, putting money towards the town hall and reducing the debt, like as opposed to
Yeah, that's fine.
committing to debt
Sure.
burden.
I wasn't,
Yeah, okay.
I was trying to just get kind of an awareness, the how of it and the details. I think you're right. I think that's kind of more their bailiwick,
Right.
and they interact with the finance committee on that. I just wanted people to kind of realize that with this Devon Villas Green thing, we did get a lot of affordable units, great, that worked. But we also are going to get a lot of new revenue and some
Yeah.
burden that goes with it.
Right.
Just, maybe we want to start thinking about that now, that's
Well,
all.
contributions to our capital, because, I believe our capital needs are very, very severe.
Yeah.
If I could just comment in here, one of the things I like about the capital committee is you have, Susan Mary there, you have somebody from the finance committee, so it's a cross-board thing, and we've actually talked about this some. I mean, like for the K-Wing, you can't use Devon's money, because you just can't. But the schools does have a whole slew of large capital projects in front of
Okay.
in their plan. Cronin Auditorium improvements, all kinds of stuff,
So they can use Devon's money for that.
for those things. And it's a way for the Devon's kids to, since they can't contribute to like the K-Wing, those are things they can contribute to. So I actually do think, and I take your point big time, that that's a school committee thing, and they need to make those trade-offs. But on the other hand, it's the biggest piece of the capital plan too. So I think it's, your point is good too. I just think it's good to share these things, realizing it's their call at the end of the day.
I just want to say it out loud, because we're going to be asking the voters to vote on a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And if there's some sort of softening of that.
The feasibility study.
Maybe it makes it a little easier to get things approved.
Exactly.
But I'm sensitive to your point.
Yeah, and that.
Are there any, I can't recall, but I believe we were increasing the assistant town administrator's hours?
Finance committee needs to act on that and vote to approve it or not, yes.
But we wanted to do that, and then also for the facilities person?
Yeah, the facilities.
So should we mention those two?
That's a good point.
Potential upgrades in
Yeah.
positions? And then I guess somebody actually asked me after our last meeting, when they heard the report from Bob Eubank's group, does this possible change in the town administrator's responsibilities get reflected in a salary adjustment?
No.
And I said, I don't know.
I can see answer that.
I
No.
would be opposed to a serious cut in the town administrator.
You would propose?
I would be opposed to that. I don't think it should be cut more than 25%.
There would be no increase requested.
He's going to work gratis.
He practically does work gratis. He's amazing.
So I would just, because these are going to be, how will they get reflected? Just an uptake in the budget line items?
For the assistant town administrator.
There'd just be more hours, and what about for the facilities person?
There would be
A new-
$5,400 put into the personnel line at that department, and there would be,
Okay, so there's no special warrant vote for it, so but I think
Changes
just.
the budget.
It changed slightly,
Yeah.
but I think
In
it's
a
good just to
minute way.
put
Yep.
it out there.
it would be an expense, but
But it would just be in the omnibus
there would be
budget.
an expense line for additional, for a cell phone for the person to be able to communicate with everybody quickly. And then the other issue is the $75,000.
For building maintenance.
Correct.
Oh, right.
They go hand in
In
hand.
which the discussion the other night was that in addition to what we already do, was it to get up to that number of 75?
Get up to that number. I think we already have like 30K.
Yes.
So this would add 45K to that, but we'd spend it every year.
Can I back to one thing that someone said we ought to mention the charter, and then there was a
No, we backed that up.
back down, but I think it would be useful to say that the selectmen have several we put the citizens petition on the ballot for this April, that we're, in addition to getting an up or down vote on it, we need people to sign up for the Charter Commission.
Oh, I see, oh.
Okay, that there's a parallel town meeting article that's put on by citizens petition, and that the selectmen have also are introducing several warrant articles to, we're going forward on multiple
Or
paths.
iterative upgrades to how we're doing things now, yeah, in the
Yeah.
meantime.
I believe that the league is considering doing at least one evening program also on what the charter, what it means and what a commission does and all that. So hopefully there'll be some additional outreach, but it's probably a good idea to put it out there. That seems like a good amount.
It's the end of the second period. Then it's a tie score.
Do you want a motion to adjourn or something? Is that why you're saying it?
Second that motion.
We're not done our agenda.
Oh.
And actually,
Just trying to help.
Stu has something.
I can't be there tomorrow night, and I guess I didn't know if this board could come to a consensus on the big amount of free cash that we had. I've seen a number of ideas on what to do. I guess the only one I'm really vehemently and violently opposed to is putting more money into OPEB, because in talking to Lorraine, yes.
Putting more than our usual amount in?
Yeah, putting what we normally put in is fine, but my understanding is putting it to an irrevocable trust isn't the most prudent use of it. If we're really worried, we can put it into stabilization and then have options in the future on what to do with it, but
FinCom's not recommending it.
Yeah,
it's not recommending
They already took their vote Wednesday night.
Wait,
not to put it into open.
Saturday morning.
wait, what did they
They looked at the language from the funding of,
so they're not increasing the amount we usually put in, is what you're trying to say?
not through money from free cash, no.
So we're still putting the $425,000.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I think an email was sent around.
And
on
they
this.
are
I didn't see
working,
that.
they are working with departments on regarding the trust and that whole thing and supplementing that and then using those
I got it
funds
from
to
CPIC.
put additional funding into OPEB.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, that's why,
I
okay.
got it from CPIC.
That's great, all right, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so you don't have to be there.
Well, I'm not gonna be there, so.
Now you don't have to be vehemently and violently opposed to anything.
Okay.
Damn.
Does anybody have any more things that we want to mention? How about, does anybody have anything to report?
We're glad you're back.
Huh?
We're glad you're back.
Thank you.
I'm glad you made it through the whole meeting.
My wife's
Personnel
glad I'm
board-
back too.
Personnel board was too late to make the package, so we'll talk about that next.
Oh, the thing that we left outstanding?
Right. So that's fine.
Leo?
And our next meeting is in
Second period already?
23rd?
And last item is, and it's going to be, last item's going to be very quick. It's review of goals.
Nothing to add.
The goals, our goals with the status are on the website, so if somebody is totally bored and they're watching the Selectmen right now, you want to see how we're doing, it's on the website, under Selectmen's goals. I can speak to one of mine and Stu's goal that Leo's gonna hang me on, because it was supposed to be finished in October. It's the air road traffic study, and we're gonna meet on next Tuesday to discuss some of the next steps on
It's
it.
in progress. I can't remember. the Devon's question, who I'm supposed to be doing that with.
If everybody indulges me, I'm too tired to go through any of the goals.
No. I have to go home and
Motion
look.
to adjourn?
We already had a motion, it just got.
Can I hear a
ignored.
second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Oh, let's stay.
Aye. It's 4-1.
Wait,
Leo said, let's stay.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, but the worst case to enjoy the game was
Yeah, without me being there? Yeah, that's true.
I'm in charge.
Well, that was
Uh-oh.
Julie shutting off the TV?
Keep careful what you're saying, we're still on the air.
You'll let me know when we're gonna meet?